Welcome back to Ben's Kitchen for another culinary and history adventure.
Ancient Greece was a fascinating culture that contributed greatly to our modern world today, with major advancements in politics, literature, mythology, militaristically, and of course, in terms of food and how that changed everyday life and impacted mythology. Typically, the Greeks had 3 to 4 meals per day, and this, of course, would vary between different regions and economical as well as social classes, but 3 to 4 was a baseline number.
The first meal of the day was typically a light one. This often consisted of bread, and if you were wealthy enough, with wine and sometimes with olives or figs. A quick lunch was taken, which again was often bread and sometimes vegetables depending on the region, and olives for a special treat for special occasions. Dinner was often a larger meal eaten with friends and family.
The ancient Greeks ate fairly simple foods. Unlike some other ancient cultures, they did not consider extravagant and rich meals a good thing. The 3 main staple foods of the Greek diet were wheat, oil, and wine. Because of this mindset, ancient Greek kitchen long remained the domain of women, free or enslaved. The Greeks did not have any eating utensils, so they ate strictly with their hands. Bread was often used to scoop out thick soups, which was often used as a napkin and as well as to clean hands.
After being used as a napkin, the bread was thrown on the floor for the dogs or slaves to clean up at the later time. Men often gathered for dinner parties called synopsis. Having guests in the house was a male-only affair, and women of the house were not permitted to attend. After giving a wine offering to the gods, the men drank and talked about politics or morals. Often young girls and boys would be employed to entertain guests with music and dance. In the average Greek household, men and women normally ate separately. If a family had slaves, they did not serve the men dinner. They did serve the men dinner first, and then the women, then themselves. If the family did not have slaves, the women of the house served the men first, then they ate themselves when the men were finished their meal.
The Greek diet was very healthy. They kept goats for milk and cheese and grew most of their own vegetables and fruits. The most popular included figs, olives, and wheat. The soil by the sea was not as rich as in the plains, so the Greeks used irrigation and crop rotation to keep the soil relatively fertile. Meat was rarely eaten, as the Greeks felt that just killing and eating domesticated animals was wrong. Often the Greeks would sacrifice the meat to gods first, and then might eat something themselves later.
The social aspect of food was huge, but not necessarily social in division between classes, but how it brought people together. There were 2 main types of social dining events: symposium and sistia. Symposium literally translates to the gathering of the drinkers and was a major social event and the contributor to the development of gender equality in Greece.
Typically, symposium was an event, as we earlier stated, just for men, and drinking and snacking was common at this time, and their wives or slaves were here to serve their men. Later on in the period, women began getting more equality as they soon realized that this was unjust and unfair, and it wasn't long before women were offered a spot at the table.
Sistia was a mandatory meal that was shared with social and religious groups for youth and men, especially in Crete and Sparta. It was often referred to as FinAl, which translates to time for men. This was often accompanied with alcohol. So you could say that the Greeks invented cracking open a cold one with the boys. Sistia further this also showed more inequality, as this was only for men, and over time more rights were gained, but this was a slow process for women to gain the equality that they deserved in ancient Greece. Religion played a huge role in everyday consumption of food, Religion played a large role in everyday consumption of food, as to follow certain religious particular foods were banned. There were actually a large majority of the Greek population that was vegetarian. Oh my god!
Empedocles justified vegetarianism as a belief in the transformation of souls, who could guarantee that an animal about to be slaughtered did not house the soul of a human being. Vegetarianism was also simply a dietary choice for not believing in killing or the harm to other animals. Certain religions also tied vegetarian with abstinence, as in one must remain vegetarian until no longer abstinent.
The Greeks had some strange superstitions about food. Some wouldn't eat beans as they thought it contained the souls of the dead. Olive trees have been cultivated in Greece for over 6,000 years, and every village has its own olive groves. Today, the country is one of the biggest producers of olives and olive oil.
Thanks for stopping by. We hope you learned a lot. Sadly, this will be the last you'll hear from us, as the year in Comparative Civilizations 12 is sadly coming to a conclusion. We thank you for your time.
Bye.